Welcome back to the Steve Basali Study. I've got another Zoom interview about to kick off, and this is going to be shared across my own platform, the Steve Basali Study, as well as the Woodbury House one. Been a long time coming. This is a guy I've been speaking to for roughly about a year and a half, maybe even 2 years now. As you well know, Cope, we are very much in the street art sector, and we specifically been working on the Richard Hambleton market, but we have got plans this year to dovetail into, let's say, people that are affiliated to, you know, the street, to his market. And one thing I like about your style and your work is it is completely different to Richard Hambleton. So look, before we go into your style and also into your market, welcome on to the podcast, Cope.
Thank you for having me.
No problem whatsoever. So your handle, your name is Cope2, correct? But your birth name is Fernando. Is it Carlos?
Yep, Fernando Carlo. Jr.
All right, cool. So I always like to talk to my guests about their background before about your profession as being an artist. So you're quite naturally from New York, am I right in saying that?
Yep, from the Bronx, man. Born and raised in the Bronx, New York City.
Cool. And what so if you don't mind me asking as well, how old are you at the moment, Cope?
Now, 53.
53. So quite naturally, you've seen New York and even the whole United States of America change quite radically. But going back to like your early part of your life, let's say when you was a young man or even a teenager, what was it like living in New York and in the Bronx?
Well, you know, as a kid, you know, I grew up in the Bronx. So, you know, I grew up in like the South Bronx in the 4 areas, you know, and where, you know, it was just crazy. You know, you had homeless people, abandoned buildings, you know, drug selling and all the crazy crimes. You know, I lived around all that stuff daily. It was normal. Yeah. And, you know, I had the subway cars. You know, I would love taking a train and watch the pieces on the subway cars. You know, watch these trains, you know, go through all the boroughs in the city and have all these tags inside and big, huge color pieces on the outside. It was pretty exciting, you know, the energy of it. It kind of drew me into, and it was like a magnet. Like I wanted to do it, you know. And then taking the subways with my moms and going to visit family members, I was always seeing the trains. So that's how it started, just watching the trains. And you know, that was kind of my playground was the subway yards when I was a kid, and that's how I started getting into it.
Right. Okay. I've spoken to, and I've actually done a little bit of work with Christopher Ellis, who goes by the name of Days. And we done a show with him a couple of years ago in Soho. He done 2 murals, actually, one in Soho around the corner from the studio, and also in a place called the Shoreditch in East London. And he was saying that a lot of artists back then, including Hambleton, including Crash, and even just, you know, seconding what you just said there, Cope, people use the streets of New York or the subways as a bit of a canvas, you know, to go out there and do their thing. And rather than it being called graffiti, it started being called more public art. Was that a bit of a culture? You know, people just started using it as a bit of a canvas to display some creativity?
Yeah, to me, it was just to have fun. You know, it was something to do instead of, you know, doing more crazy stuff like selling drugs as a kid or robbing people. I didn't want to really get into all that stuff. So I would just go rack spray cans and paint trains. You know, it was something exciting to do and to get away from all the crap. I was not one of these kids that always stood on in the neighborhood all the time. You know, I always liked to go out and adventure. So I would take the train maybe from the Bronx to Brooklyn, get out, walk around, rack spray cans, you know, go to Manhattan. I always loved walking around Manhattan, you know, and rack spray cans. Back then, everything was so easy to steal. So it was a way of it was more just to have fun. You know, I didn't even look at it. It was to me like a ghetto art. You know, we were kids from the ghetto, from the hood. You know, we didn't learn to do graffiti in school or any art schools. You know, we just learned from watching other graffiti writers who were from the ghetto as well. You know, so we just took from what they were doing and got inspired. You know, especially like Days. Days is one of the guys I looked up to when I was a kid as well. He had nice pieces on the outside, Blade and Comet, Mid 77, Case 2, Scene, all these guys before me, they had these huge pieces on the outside, and they kind of influenced me and inspired me to do the same thing as well as what they were doing.
Yeah. So again, you know our background. We've been promoting Richard Hamilton for some time, and we by mistake kind of got into the art market, and now we're here. We absolutely love it, and we're thriving in it, and we're doing extremely well as a brand. One thing I remember watching the Shadow Man documentary, it said in there that during the 70s and 80s, when crime was very, very rife back in New York back then, in actual fact, it inspired people like Basquiat, Keith Haring, Richard Hamilton, and multiple different other street artists to develop a style. Would you say that's similar to you, or did it have any kind of, bearings on or influence over how you portray your art now, Cope?
Who, Basquiat, Keith Haring, and Hamilton?
Yeah, maybe them, but or more so like the crime and the drugs and the gangs. Because if you look at, for example, behind me is a standing shadow figure that is like known as a lurking shadow man, and that used to kind of represent, let's say individuals down an alley, and you never knew if they were selling drugs, it was a gang member or whatever else, and it was left down to people's view on the piece. Now with you, would you say any of that environment influenced your work, or not really? Other graffiti artists?
No, not really, because like I said, we did it for fun. We just wanted to paint the trains too. It was a thing that you wanted to become famous.
Yeah.
You wanted to, if you can go hit a train and it can travel through the whole city. It was a whole different world. The subway graffiti is like a whole different world. While Basquiat and Keith Haring and Hamilton was probably doing things in the street and on canvas, they were totally a different kind of art. But they were doing it in their own way as well, and being inspired from the ghetto as well. Me, I just wanted to become a king of a subway cars, because I saw people writing king, legend, and I said, wow, what it takes to become a king and a legend of a subway line. That was more exciting to me to try to execute that and become a king of a subway line, and that was my mission back then at the time.
And was you successful becoming that king of that subway line?
Yeah, I became king of the 4 line, which traveled from the Bronx to Brooklyn back in 1983. I was hitting it hard. I started hitting it like 80, 81. I was already watching graffiti in 78, 79 when I was a kid, watching all the whole cars roll by. Is the Wiz, Comet and Blade, all these guys way before me. They had the big stomping blockbuster letters, man. The thing was like magical, so back, it just pushed me to be like them. So back in like 83, I became king of the 4, and then in 84, all the way to 84, because in 84, the 4 line, the new trains came in. They were the first line to become the new subway cars, because I guess Yankee Stadium ran through, the 4 line ran through Yankee Stadium. So I guess they probably try to cater more to the Yankee fans. And then I started spreading out to other lines, the 1s, the 2s, the 3s, the 4, the 5s, the 6s, and some of the letter lines. I started to go, it's called All City, which is you get your name up in all the subway lines. Before you know it, your name is running through all the system, and so many other writers were doing it. So it was like a huge competition. That was the cool thing too. It was like a sport, it was a competition, who would get up more. It was just so many people doing it. And a lot of the writers before me were already slowing down, some of the big writers. So I had kind of an advantage, because watching them, especially some of the big bombers like Nin and Quick and Is the Wiz and Cap, these guys, PJ Scene, these guys were huge bombers before me. They inspired me to bomb too as well and get up fast. And then once the trains died out, I became a father in 1985. The trains kind of died out in 87, 88. And I started painting in the street, in the hood. A lot of walls were fucked up. So I would go and get permission and do burners. We started doing burners in the street.
Right. What do you mean by burners?
Burners is like when you take your name and do like a wild style letter. You do a piece, and in the graffiti world, burners are like when you do just a wild style burner with colors, like on the outside of the subway lines when the pieces roll up, like a Case 2, a T-Kid, a Mid 77, those are burners. These guys, they're burners, it's like a burner is the top, top of the line of a style of a piece.
Yeah.
It's like you could barely read it. That's a burner. So we started doing burners in the street and in the ghetto. And it was really kind of called street art. Because when we would do these pieces, people would walk by and it's like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's beautiful street art and you're making the community look beautiful. And it was kind of weird because it was like, wow, that's kind of cool. The trains were dying and we still wanted to get our names up. So I started just doing pieces in the street.
Nice. I've read this before, but I've actually forgot. How come you named yourself Cope or Cope 2?
Because another thing, I was writing Cope first, right? And then I remember in the early 80s, like 80, 81, I would see so many people with numbers. You have Mark 198, Mid 77, you have Phase 2, you have Band 2, you had so many Too Famous. And so many people had a number. So Cope sounded cool, but it was kind of like just too boring. But Band 2 was one of my idols. Band 2, he had tags on every car on the inside. This guy just smashed. So I always loved his 2, the way he did the 2. So I just said, I'm going to add the 2 next to Cope. So it was Cope 2. So it sounded better like Cope 2. And then instead of Cope. So people still call me Cope, but it was always Cope 2. I started to put the 2 because I wanted a number like everyone else. And it made it more sound cool, I guess. So it was like Cope 2. And that just stood, kept it from there.
Yeah. So like from the time you started, doing your artwork on the streets of New York in the Bronx, etc., to where you are now, because I was on your website earlier and you've obviously got a shop, you got T-shirts, you got merchandise, you got prints, you got your canvas work. I mean, I know you must have done it back then, as you said, for fun and to like express yourself, the creative side of you. But
right
later on in life, I mean, you can't keep on doing something just for fun, I guess. You got to start monetizing it. So when did you start to think, okay, I'm now becoming a real kind of artist, and started thinking about the financial gain of it all?
It was back in 2000. There was like a big auction, Christie's auction. And they had an auction on graffiti. It wasn't even like street art, just graffiti. It was called the Guernsey Speed Auction. I never, I wasn't into this, but I always knew about gallery shows because in the mid 80s, I would hear like Futura doing a show, Scene would do a show in the city. A lot of people before me, I was already watching them doing exhibitions in New York City. So I would go check out the shows and just look at it, like, wow, these guys are doing, canvas. These guys from the subways from the early 80s, once they quit, they went straight onto canvas, and I always watched it, but I just didn't know how to break into it, So I always worked in regular jobs. Since I was a father young in 85, I had my son, 88, I had my daughter. So I always had to work, to pay the bills, keep food on the table, make sure everything was taken care of. So, it was in 2000, they contacted me. I forgot who curated it, but I wanted to put a canvas inside the auction. So I was like, a canvas? I don't do canvases. I'm still painting walls, and doing throw-ups in the street. So they said, yo, just do anything on a canvas. What you do on the wall, do it on a canvas. So I said, oh, whatever. I did 3 of them and 2 of them sold. And I remember I made they sold for like $2-3 grand for both of them. And that was shocking. I was like, holy, I didn't even believe someone bought my painting. And, it took me a month to make $3 grand working 2 jobs. So I was like, wait a minute. Now this sounds kind of cool. So it was kind of tough because then you have like the guys from the hood and from the street that's still keeping the culture real. They call it real. And they don't want, you don't want to sell out and disappoint them. But then again, you have to take care of your own, So if you can make money off your work and live off your work, why not? They should be happy for you. If you can make it out of the hood and out of the ghetto and live better for your family and live good. And watching all these guys before me, like especially Futura, especially Days, you know, Scene, you know, Crash, Shipping Crash, you know, these are guys who were doing Dandy, especially, you know, they were doing canvases and doing exhibitions already in the early 80s. So I was always watching it. And then I said, you know, fuck it, I'm going to try it. You know, if they can do it, I can do it. I already killed the subway cars. I killed the streets. You know, I started to make a name for myself.
Yeah.
So I started doing canvas. And it took a while before it took off. You know, I did a video called Kings Destroy documentary that sold worldwide in 2000. Then a book in 2003 called Cope 2 True Legend that a friend of mine, Oris and Nir from Paris, had published. And it started to take off. Once the video and the book came out, it started to take off. You know, I started to get more known and doing interviews in a lot of graffiti mags. Because back then in the late 80s, there were a lot of graffiti mags. I mean, the mid 90s and late 90s, there were graffiti magazines from all over the world. And I started to get into that. And I was like, wow, graffiti mags? Because graffiti had just spread it worldwide. It was insane. It was phenomenal. I didn't even think it went from New York to I know it went to the West Coast, but I didn't know how much of an impact it had in Europe. And then when I started looking into it, it was like just a phenomenon. Yeah. Like, wow, this is really insane.
Yeah. So I guess converting from, let's say, the streets of New York onto a medium like canvas and then seeing your prices go up and up and up, I guess part of that is, you know, your style, are people into it, which they clearly are. Then your PR, then your marketing, then there's the collaborations. A friend of mine, actually a family member, a guy called George, he actually pointed out, I was having a boxing fight, I remember, it was nearly 2 years ago, and he said, because I think me and you were talking over social media, and I think he saw like a couple of comments. He said, oh, I bought an Adidas tracksuit, and it was a collab with Cope 2, and I was like, really? And he was like, yeah. So you've done a few collaborations with fairly big brands?
Yeah. Like I said, it was. I started to take off like really big, and
how was it with? Sorry to interject. How was it with like Adidas? Because they're massive.
Oh, Adidas. It was. I got connected with a friend of mine, Fafi from Paris. She's a female artist. You know, Fafi. Everybody knows who Fafi is, and you know, she was doing did a big collection, and I was in Paris at the time, and we were doing a wall, and she had just had her son. So I went up to her house to visit her and to see her son, her newborn, and meet her husband and stuff. And I saw the whole collection. She had it there, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And she was like, just so genuine. You know, she was like, hey, you want me to connect you with them? I was like, really? You think they would do something with me? She's like, yeah, I know the guy who's the curator of it. You know, he I think he said he was from London, as a matter of fact, from the UK.
Okay.
So the guy knew who I was. Like, he heard of me already, so he knew who I was. I forgot his name, but she gave him my email. She did like a CC email for both of us, and then you know, me and him started talking, and then he connected me with some who was it? I think the people who ran it was called UDocs, maybe. I think they call UDocs.
Okay.
I think that's the company who I guess ran the Adidas project. And before you know it, man, they just asked me for a bunch of material, and we talked the contract, and the contract had me to fly to like London and Rome and Paris and Italy to do like it was a collaboration with Foot Locker.
Right.
You know,
I know Foot Locker, yeah.
It was Adidas Foot Locker collaboration. And it was huge. Like, I was shocked. I was like, they had like big advertisements on the double-decker buses in London, like rolling by when I went down there. That was shocking, you know, and once you get to that point, you know, you made it, you know, and from there, I did a collaboration with Converse, sneakers, Pro Keds, you know, Time Magazine. I started to get all these things. Mark Echo did a graffiti game and put me as one of the legends. It just took off. You know, before you know it, I got bigger and bigger. And it was really the Adidas project was like my favorite. These guys were like top of the line professional. They took care of you. The painting was awesome, and the whole thing was just fun. The whole project, just flying to all these countries and going to Foot Locker, and you have a line outside, which was cool. I was kind of shocked. You have a line outside of all these graffiti writers from that country coming to see you and buying your sneaker. That was really, like, to me, amazing.
Yeah. Do you know, like, so the collaboration with someone like Adidas, or you mentioned Time or Converse, okay? Now, quite naturally, that's going to create a bit of, demand on, let's say, the merchandise or the collectibles. What I call like entry point, almost artwork for people not ready to step up for a canvas or one of your masterpieces or originals, but it creates a lot of hype around that, which is one side of the market, which we're going into as a brand because we've got an online store now, and I believe
Right.
us two together, we can come up with a very unique, cool plan. So watch this space, okay? But then that creates the hype, which actually starts creating you a lot of demand for your original works, and your original works must start going up in value because of that. Do you find that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. It does a lot because when you're selling a painting, and sometimes the collector wants to know like who you are, or even before they even know who you are or meet you as a person, they look into you. They want to look, all right, I love that painting. Who is this guy? Oh, Cope 2. Who is Cope 2? And then sometimes the gallery has to represent you, or sometimes they'll just do their own homework. Sometimes I get a lot of emails from collectors like, oh, I love your work. I seen you did this. I seen you did that. I would like to purchase a piece. And which is good is, having history behind those big collaborations, coming from New York City and hitting the subway cars and the ghetto and the Bronx and bombing the streets, that gives, having that history helps a lot because a lot of collectors love that. They like to have a piece of history. It's like me, for instance, I would love to have a Dondi piece. Dondi is one of my idols, but it's probably impossible to get a Dondi canvas. And to have a Dondi canvas is probably, who knows, thousands and thousands, and his canvases are rare. So it's the same thing with a collector. They look into you. And then once they see not only that you have history from New York City, they see the collaborations as well. Oh, you did something with Adidas? Wow, you did something with Time, Converse. It kind of helps, and it makes it more interesting to them to buy a piece.
Yeah, well, it's almost like the artist, you in this case, is validated. I mean, sorry to go back to Hambleton, but
Exactly.
when we promote, Hambleton, if you look at his story, there's been a Shadowman documentary. He done a collaboration with Supreme, which is a massive brand now. We also helped to do another collaboration with the Hambleton IP with a company that I'm a part of called Dark Circle Clothing, which was cool. That got us into Vogue magazine. That also got us into Hypebeast. And then you had the Giorgio Armani stuff. So every time you tick another box, it really, validates the brand around the artist as well as the artists themselves. And I can start to see how incrementally your canvas work start fetching more in value. So the question I wanted to ask you, Cope, then, let's just say the future of street contemporary, the contemporary market, the street art market, where do you see it going? I mean, do you see it going up and up and up, or what's your kind of view on it?
Man, it's kind of, I think life to me is unpredictable. Sometimes it all depends on artists, all of us. We have to continue to do what we do as artists because art is something, it's an investment as well. Even after you're dead and gone, people still collect your work. So
well, look at Ramosi.
Yeah, Ramosi was a good friend of mine. I regret not going. I remember before he passed away, a few months, like 2-3 months before, I was on the phone with him because I heard he was sick, and he like, I'm getting better, whatever. He's like, yo, come to my house. I told him, yo, I want to get a piece from you. He's like, just come to my house, bro. I'll hook you up, man. Don't worry about it. Come chill. I never did, so I always regret that, and I feel terrible because, you know, I've smoked blunts with him. This guy was, I'm telling you, man, he was just phenomenal. You look at his work. I remember in the beginning, I said, this guy's crazy. He's taking like junk toys from everywhere and just making these sculptures of stuff. It was just phenomenal. And these costumes, I really thought he was losing his mind, but the guy he was like a genius. He was a genius.
Yeah.
You know, and it's sad he's gone, but his work is just something that's just, man, I don't think anyone can top anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man. And like, to sit there and do this, it takes so much time and energy.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't know how he did it. I don't know how he did it, but he was a genius. You know, and that's the thing I learned with this art too, watching passed away. Like, Basquiat's one of my idols. You know, when I was young, I watched him. You know, I watched what he did.
Did you actually meet him? And
he was amazing.
Was you around him in person, Cope? You know, was you there?
No, I knew of him and had friends. They used to chill with him. Like this guy Devo, he always told me he used to chill with Basquiat. You know, Delta 2 chilled with Basquiat. You know, Toxic chilled with Basquiat. I know dudes who chilled with him, but I never met him. I met Keith Haring a few times because he had a shop called the Pop Shop.
Yeah.
On was it Lafayette Street? And he would be in there sometimes. So I was always in the Ville walking around. I used to love this city, walking around, and sometimes he would just be in there, and you can go in there and just talk to him like, "Yo, what's up?" Like, he was so cool, the guy. But I never, like, to me, it was a different world because he was a different artist, and I was a graffiti artist, so I didn't really like look into his stuff. But I knew he was famous and big because he was doing murals and canvases, and he was huge already, Keith Haring.
Yeah.
And I was still doing trains and walls and stuff like that. We were two different artists, but I've met him a few times, and I regret not having him tag a black book or something now, because a friend of mine got him to tag a black book and did one of the babies in the black book. He still has it today, and I try to drive him crazy to get the sheet, but he won't give it to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, like, these guys were always there, and I you know, I knew they were there, but I guess I was doing my own graffiti, and you know, they're very inspiring too, especially now in the art world. But I think graffiti and street art is just going to get bigger and better, because every day there's just new graffiti writers, new street artists. People, it's art, you know, it's a whole different art world. And the good thing about artists like me and many others, when you have history, it helps.
Yeah. I mean,
you know, because sometimes you can have you're in a group show, and, you know, I'm in a group show with artists that no one even heard of, but they do great work, and sometimes their work will sell and mine won't. So sometimes it's all about if a collector just likes the painting, don't even care if the person has history or not, you know. So in the end of the day, you know, art always sells regardless, you know, but having some legacy to it does help. And to me, I'm doing this not only for me, but for my kids and grandkids for the future, because when I'm dead and gone, you know, I want my name to continue so they can carry on the legacy, you know, and the whole estate, you know, because I do paintings and I put paintings away. Like, I do a lot of paintings, and I'm putting so many of them away. So when I'm gone, you know, they can sell it. You know, they can do what they got to do with the paintings. You know, you got to think for the future, because life is fast, man. I mean, yesterday I was like 25, 18. Now I'm going towards 60. You know, it goes quick. It's like, whoa. So yeah. I'm more focused on just painting, trying to stay, like, you know, healthy, smart, and just try to focus on my art. You never know, especially with this. Nobody's seen the COVID coming, you know, the whole, you know, COVID virus. Nobody's seen it coming. It came and hit so hard, it killed so many people.
Yeah.
You know, so you never know. Life's unpredictable. You just never know what happens.
Yeah.
So you have to stay on your craft and stay focused. And
absolutely,
you know, yeah, you have to just keep on working.
Yeah.
And keep working.
There's a few things you said there, Cope. So, like, I do agree with you that life is very unpredictable. I mean, the one thing you just said there, which is everybody's experiencing it from America to the UK to Australia to wherever, is this bloody coronavirus. And I think the secondary negative of it is the lockdowns, because I understand why they're doing it. But it's decimating a lot of businesses, a lot of careers, a lot of jobs, and therefore there's a lot of problems. But anyway, you said life is unpredictable. But in the street art sector, and let's looking at the markets, and also looking at maybe the investment side of stuff. You mentioned about you should have got like maybe a tag from Keith Haring. You should have got something from Ramosi, because look at where their markets have gone. And I personally believe that there are certain artists that seem to come out of the woodwork or come out of nowhere and they suddenly blow up. And I would say that's quite rare. But there's other artists that kind of got the hallmarks there, because just like you said, if you're an artist who's got a good style, a good authentic style, but then you've got the heritage of, being a bit of a face, a legend or an icon in your sector, then you do the collaborations, then you had the right PR, the right shows, the right affiliations with some of the legends like, the Basquiats, the Ramosi, or even people like Days and Futura, etc. You can begin to imagine, if you're a collector, you would think to yourself, well, I should buy some of the pieces from these particular artists, because in 5 or 10 years' time, or 15 or 20 years' time, they're going to be probably worth a lot more money. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to work that kind of outcope,
Exactly.
And the reason why, I'm interested in your market, interested in Crash's market, interested in Dave's market, is because I've seen what's happened to Jean-Michel Basquiat. So out of everybody, I would say, he's, as far as financial, he's been the king. He had a piece in 2017.
He's one of mine.
Yeah,
he's one of mine.
He went for $110.5 million. And I mean, the guy, some of the documentaries, like The Radiant Child, I think he's an absolute G, so cool, and what a legend he was. But I missed out on that.
Yeah, I love that documentary.
Yeah, amazing. But I missed out on number one, collecting and buying and just promoting his work. It was way before my time. But that's why I've noticed with Hambleton, he was kind of on the cusp of doing that. And I believe we've been quite instrumental with that. We've done shows across the world for his market. The recent one we done was at the Saatchi Gallery. But now we're kind of getting a bit of traction with that. We feel we could take our blueprint, as it were, to other affiliates, the Daisies, the Crashes, the Cope 2s, etc. Because like you said, look at Futura. I mean, he's still alive. He's done a collaboration with multiple different brands, including one that you've done a collab with, which is Converse. I know he's done, in actual fact, I've got some of the trainers next door, the Converse and Futura ones where he's tagged them. And then, I went to a show, not when Ramos was alive, but I went to a show at Laz Inc., which is used to be owned by a guy called Steve Laderidis, who kind of founded Banksy. And they done a Ramosy show in London, and it was popping. It was unbelievable. And when I was looking at his work, I can see, I can see some of your work in his work. I can see a little bit of Days in there. I could feel like the dots were connecting with a lot of you, basically. So, I mean, I hope that's a bit of that's a compliment.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. I'm sad he's gone. He was such a cool dude. It's like, it's sometimes, when these guys, you take it for granted, and man, he passed so fast, so young. I had no idea. Like, he really, it's sad, man. That guy was just, you knew him. He was so funny, and he was just a cool dude.
How did he die?
Rest his soul. Huh?
How did he die?
I don't know, man. They say he had cancer and he was getting treated for cancer, but then he didn't have cancer, so the chemo they were giving him got him sick. It was a whole bunch of stuff, and he passed away. So I really don't know the real truth. But when I spoke to him on the phone, he said he had cancer, and he was doing bad. He doesn't know if he's going to be around long. So I should get my ass to his house to chill with him, have a beer, smoke some weed, and just chill out, But I was like, yo, I'm going to go out there. I got you. And I never did. And I always regret that shit. And before you know it, I heard he was in the hospital and he was gone. So it was like, damn, it just happened so fast.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah. Man, it's just, I mean, I know I've read about a lot of the artists, certainly from the 70s, 80s, early 90s. And, part of, I guess, the creativity with any kind of artist, whether you're a songwriter, a singer, rapper, a canvas or graffiti artist, what comes along with that is the drugs and narcotics. And if you do that for too long, the cancer can be developed. And so many of them die because of cancer and also the lifestyle. So it's really sad to hear that. But going back to, like, let's say the market, I done a podcast recently that City Private Bank, which is part of the City Group or Citibank organization, they've got something like $250 billion under management for their high net worth investors. And they released a report code between the years of 1985 to 2020. And they said that the second best performing asset class for their investors, these weren't collectors or street art fanatics. These were purely and simply investors who wanted to make money in a safe, secure way, was the contemporary street art sector. And it was performing at 11.5% year in, year out. Now, here's what is even interesting. Last year, they released another report specifically on the year when coronavirus came out. Coronavirus started decimating economies, started decimating people's jobs, careers, businesses, etc. But what was interesting is the stock market started to plummet. So you saw the Dow Jones in America, you saw the FTSE in the UK started to bottom out. But in actual fact, the contemporary street art sector started to blossom even more. And what it was proving is more and more people coming out of your conventional areas, and they are going into things like tangible asset classes like street art. I wanted to ask you, as a legend in street art and someone that is very active and someone that is pushing your market all the time. Are you finding that investors are coming to you specifically to say, look, I want to buy into your work because I want to make money in the future, whether that's 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line? Are you finding that?
Oh yeah. Let me tell you, I was when the COVID hit, and I've seen everything it was just killing everything in its path. The jobs, businesses, I was like, wow, I might be in trouble here. I had shows planned. I had a book coming out, everything would just stop, but before you know it, I started getting emails from like collectors, from Czech Republic, from Cyprus, France. I was getting tons of emails from dudes really wanting to buy pieces. And I was like, holy moly. During the COVID, I did, really shockingly well. I was shocked how much paintings I sold just right from my house, right from my storage, my studio, just painting. And, these guys, like, I never heard of them. One's a doctor, one's this, one's that. And they were buying pieces, like spending thousands of dollars on paintings. And I was kind of overwhelmed, and I was blessed. And in the sense I say I'm blessed because during the COVID, you see so much stuff going on and I feel terrible, You see a lot of people don't have it, can't even get through to have no money. And I'm here just killing it, But I share it with my family. I have family that is unfortunate. So, I share with them. So it's good.
Yeah.
I try to give back. Sometimes I get hit from charities from France, and I get hit from a lot of charities to donate a canvas, and I donate it. The canvas always sells. I don't get a penny. That's fine. As long as it goes to something helping children. Like there's one I think it's called Street Art for Kids in Paris. They have one every year. I always send them a canvas, and it sells for sometimes $2-3 grand, and it goes for homeless kids in France. I always give. You got to give back. So I guess everything comes in full circle. And now I have like a lot of collectors in the sense that I don't even think I need to do any gallery shows, which is, kind of crazy to say. At one time I was stressing to do a show, and not only to make the money, because it's always about to just get your name out there. And I'm like this, if I have an art show and an exhibition, I don't always think about selling the work or making money. Some people always, I want to sell. you always got to look at it as like to represent your art, represent who you are, and let the public and let the world see your work. To me, I've had shows where, I had one in Italy, right? In Mestre, Italy, about 5 years ago. Man, it was so many people. It was insane. And just to see the town mayor come and give me an award and just blessing that whole town with an exhibition, that felt so amazing. Just seeing the people. When you have a show like another country somewhere in France, in a little village or Germany, and all these people come from that town, they don't even know who the hell you are, and they just come see your work, and they love your work. They're just like, your work is beautiful. And you're like, wow, that's a great feeling alone.
Yeah.
And if you sell work, hey, it's a bonus. It's beautiful. But one thing I learned about having exhibitions, to me, it's more exciting when people just come, like loads of them, and you could just stand there and watch them just look at and admire your work. That to me is so, so awesome. I just love that feeling. I love it.
Yeah, sick.
Sometimes it's better than selling a painting, know?
Yeah, yeah.
And this whole COVID thing, you learn in life that, yo, man, forget it. All right, everyone needs money. We have to pay bills. But man, you have to really, like, in the end of the day, you have to take care of your health. Because, you're here one day, the next day you're gone. With that COVID, I lost, a really good friend, Nick 707, OTB. He's a original style master from the 70s, from the subway era. He's one of my idols. He caught COVID and, he didn't make it. And it's very, it's devastating. And I know a lot of people that lost family members, and that thing really, so that really kind of makes you look and put life in perspective. Like, yo, man, you got to, like, really, I guess, try to change a little more towards a positive way in life and try to be more good to people and try to live more of a healthy, positive life. Because, man, like I said, life's unpredictable. And that COVID came and smashed, and it's still here. I mean, I hope, it gets under control finally, but I was pretty overwhelmed of the collectors that I've been getting. And I have some really good collectors, but I always, I still want to do shows. I have some shows, hopefully for this year and for next year,
Yeah.
I got a duo show now in Brussels at Gallery Martinheimer on February 19th with Pro 176. I would love to be there, but, I can't fly. I would love to. I think I could fly, but I don't want to risk it.
Yeah.
You never know what happens, flying from here to Paris, taking a train to Brussels. You never know, man. Just so many germs in the air. I don't need to catch COVID. I get sick and that's it. I'll be gone and my paintings will probably be selling for more than what they are now.
Yeah. I mean, that's the irony. Usually when an artist passes away, it can be sometimes their best career move they can make because prices tend to rocket up.
It happens. That's just life. And I look at that too. I say, wait a minute. You see all these guys, like, when they pass away, their canvases in auctions going for millions. It's insane, and I'm like, wow. At least I want to know when I'm dead and gone, if I got a few thousand paintings there and my kids have it, my grandkids, they can sell it. They can make some money, buy some cars, party, enjoy life, man. You got to leave something behind for the family.
Absolutely.
Because in the end of the day, the vultures, they're going to come out. The galleries, the collectors, they're going to make much money as they can off your work. But that's business. There's nothing you can do about it. It's business. And that's the good thing about art. It is an investment.
Yeah.
It is an investment. I've watched Cause. Cause was a perfect example. I knew Cause.
Perfect example.
Mid-90s. And we did a few walls together. Really genuine guy, and I watched him like just grow and grow. And he took things to a level just phenomenal. I mean, this guy is, and he's still young, and he's just a fucking genius. I got to give it to him. And just like he looked up to people like me and other writers in graffiti, it's kind of strange. I look up to him now because I say like, wow, I one thing about me, I always look at other artists, even if they come after me, and I watch what they do, and I try to take their energy and use it towards mine. Instead of some artists, they get jealous of other artists, they hate, they talk crap. Me, I joke around a lot, but watching Cause, how he just developed and watch what he did and what he's doing, he's genius. He's a genius. He's just phenomenal. And just like I know he watches other artists like Jeff Koons, that's one of his idols. It's a whole thing of a trail of just everyone just taking energy from each other and just trying to make magic.
Yeah.
Make positive things with it. And man, art is amazing. Just seeing all these great artists is just amazing.
It seems like certainly with Cause as well, and I've seen it with a few artists going back to days. He's about to do it. I've seen on your website and also your Instagram. It's the birth of the figurines now. Where the figurines are coming out from these artists, and look at Cause. Some of the figurines he's got. They go in Philips for like hundreds of thousands. And I remember them. I remember them only a few years ago. Me and my business partner was in Philips, and we were looking at one for about 8,000, maybe 10,000. I mean, literally maybe 18 months later, it was going for ridiculous money. Ridiculous.
I know. I know. Trust me. I remember when he first started doing them. I regret not buying them. I was like, I don't know. I'm more of a graffiti purist. And I know he was a graffiti purist too. He did freight trains, he did walls, he bombed, he did his thing, but he went straight into, I guess, contemporary art. And I saw when he was first coming out with the toys, and I was like, wow, that's cool, man. But, Futura was doing toys too. I watched all that, and I regret not buying it now. Like, imagine if I bought a Cause toy 20 years ago. Imagine now.
Yeah.
One of his first original toys, and it would be crazy.
Yeah. So is that, are you going to, obviously you're going to maintain, your heritage, which is your canvas work and even maybe doing the murals, et cetera, on the streets. But are you going to go more down that route now of the collectibles, the toys, the merchandise, etc.?
I mean, it depends because I don't know. I like to be like one of those old artists that just do paintings. I really don't care much about the toys. It's cool. The thing with the figures, like if you approach me like a company and say, hey, we'd like to do a collaboration with your figure. Oh, I'll do it. If it's a cool figure, I'll do it. And, but I might do some because it's cool to have, for your legacy as well, and for your name as well. Oh, he does, paintings. He has a new toy, a new figure that just came out. Oh, really? Wow. It's always good, to do it as well for yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of artists have done it. I've seen Futura do it. Scene has done it. Cause has been doing it. Why not do a few co-figures? Why not? I have people already approach me on doing some. So
yeah,
I'm sure you'll see some coming out.
Yeah.
In the future.
We were looking at just earlier, because I know they're fairly big as a collaboration piece. I think they've done a few with the Jean-Michel Basquiat IP and other affiliates. They're called Bareback Bricks. No, Bear Bricks Bears, I think they're called. Not sure if you're familiar with them. They look like these bears, and basically they're plain, and then the artist will do their thing over the top.
That's cool.
Yeah, they're really, really cool, and they sell out very quickly. Especially the Jean-Michel Basquiat ones. Anything that IP, the Harry one, the Andy Warhol one, any of these big brands, they move.
Yeah, they're really cool.
They can do a collab with Kleenex tissues, and they will sell out.
That's cool. Yeah, well, that's cool, man. And the thing about the figures, they're not so expensive either. So a lot of people are able to at least have a piece of an artist. They
Yeah.
can't spend, 2, 3 grand, 5 grand, 10 grand on a painting. They can spend $100 maybe on a little figure, or $200,
Yeah.
and later on they'll probably sell it anyway. I see some toys on eBay like so expensive now. Like, wow, it's a business. In the end of the day, it's a business. Art is a business. It is. It really is.
Yeah, it is, definitely. So on your goals list then, Cope, where do you see yourself over the next 5 or 10 years as far as your market, you as an individual, and what kind of collaborations or ideas, what sort of vision have you got for the future? Have you got any goals to collaborate with certain organizations?
No, not really. I mean, I'm trying to do, I have a book ready to come out. I guess the COVID thing messed it up, so they're not pushing it to next year, next spring, which would be cool.
Okay.
The book's already pretty much laid out with Schiffer Books, and it's a really great book. It's a little bit of everything. You have old trains around the world, tropes around the world, wars around the world, collaborations I did with Shepard Fairey, Retna, Mr. Brainwash, Kenny Sharp. I got that in the book, and I want to get another book out. Get some books out, and just continue to create paintings. And that's kind of my therapy, is just painting. It's always good to just keep painting and work on some great exhibitions. And that's what I really want to do, some really great exhibitions with some really great galleries, and just continue to bless the world with my work, and, keep going, man, to the end of time, because even after when I'm dead and gone, just like many artists, like you said, rappers, singers, actors, their legacy continues. So right now I'm still building my legacy, continuing to build it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I'm dead and gone, it just keeps going. Kind of like, like Bruce Lee. Like I look at Bruce Lee, like he's my idol. Like he's my hero since a little kid. Everyone wanted to be like Bruce Lee.
100%.
And it's phenomenal how his stuff still sells. And he's still like out there, and his daughter and his family just still, his whole estate still like keeps promoting and pushing his legacy. He's like a phenomenal legend. This guy, Bruce Lee, it's sad he passed so young, but you see his legacy is just phenomenal, man. And I see that. And he's a MMA like god. So it's like, I want to take that kind of energy, but in my world as a graffiti artist. So, and keep going and keep going. So when I'm gone, my kids, my daughters can take my estate and do what, Shannon did for her father, Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
And yeah, because when we're gone, all of us, they have made it out there, all the big artists, and left a legacy. It lives on forever. It's just phenomenal. It's crazy, how it just keeps on and keeps on and keeps on. And that's the good thing about building your name and building your legacy.
Yeah, I mean, you got quite naturally the originals market, but eventually, as the market keeps on building, like the Basquiats and like the Herrings and like the Andy Warhols, etc. For most people, they can't afford a 500,000, a million, 10 million, 20 million pound piece. It's just far outside anyone's reach. But what they might be able to get is their limited editions. But even look at the limited editions. I mean, look at Banksy. Look, one of his limited editions, unsigned, so not even signed, sold for over £100,000. A signed one sold for over 300. And an original piece in 2019 called Devolved Parliament sold for £9.9 million. So the facts are, when people can't get the originals, then they turn to the limited editions, but then eventually the limited editions get far out their reach, and then they go to more the collectibles or the merchandise. And I can kind of see where your market's going to go in the future, because so many people around you who have been affiliated to you, you know, from your kind of scene in your culture, that's where they've gone to. I mean, I look at Futura all the time and I'm thinking, I've got 2 of his Futura tags on canvas. And when I picked them up, they were, fairly cheap. Now I've been offered per tag, like 16, 18,000 pounds, and I've turned it down per one.
Wow.
You know, and he rarely, thankfully we've got a couple of his canvases as well, but he doesn't even do canvases no more really. He's just doing his collaborations and stuff. And I think that's quite a smart move because it creates that scarcity, you know? So, I can see like the business moves. I can see the strategies and, I think investors, collectors, lovers, they're all going to be demanding, the authentic street art legends who've paved the way for many other people out there. And that's including you as well, Cope.
Thank you.
I want to ask you a question actually, which is slightly, it's more of a like me personally asking you rather than what I think other people would want to ask you. But, like when you were, let's say back in the day when you started doing, public art or graffiti, no, quite naturally it was illegal, right? So, you took a risk and you went out there to, bomb the city. Were there any, like, can you remember any hairy moments where you thought, oh my God, like the feds are going to get me or a gang's going to get me or I could be killed because I'm doing a train track and a train's about to come? Is there any of those like kind of scary moments that you can talk me through?
Oh yeah, for sure. When I was approached to do my documentary, the Cope 2 Kings Destroy, and in 1996, 97, and I got a lot of big players in it, and I also filmed myself doing subway trains. And I knew when the documentary came out that the police were going to come after me. Even though a lot of if you look at the video, it's on YouTube, my face is blurred out a lot. But, when I was doing the trains. But I knew they were coming. I've had raids in train yards and got away, no big deal. But when I did the documentary, I was always stressed. And I told the producer, they're going to come down on me on this, but whatever. I didn't even care. I was kind of leaving the hardcore grafts and trying to get more into canvas anyway. So I felt like, all right, let me do it. Who cares? And before you know it, I'm coming out my house and I got rolled on by like 8 police, and it was crazy. I was like, wow. I mean, it's just a damn video. These guys, they still acting like pro agents, like if I had murdered somebody, but they really rolled on me and took me in, and before you know it, I got locked up for it. But it turned out cool. The producer paid everything, lawyer fees, everything, and came out with a sweet deal, and that was that.
Do you know?
But lucky it was back.
Do you know? In some ways, Cope. Sorry to sort of butt in there, but in a roundabout way, if I'm collecting a legend from the street art, and I'm investing into their market, I kind of would expect, let me put it like this, right? If I bought someone's artwork and it was cool art, don't get me wrong, but the person I was buying into didn't have that kind of, I'm not saying your background's checkered or anything like that, but they didn't have those moments. It would kind of lose a bit of meaning to the street art, You kind of expect the artist to like have run-ins with gangs, have run-ins with the feds, near death moments, drugs, shootings, that's kind of the stuff that you buy into, correct?
Yeah, true. Oh, when I was in the street, growing up, I saw drugs, I mean, I had to.
And was it?
I couldn't make it with the regular job. So, in the mid 80s, I'm doing trains and walls, but in the neighborhood, I'm selling crack. Crack was huge. So I had to make money. And I was getting into beef with other drug dealers. And they would pull guns out on me and try to shoot at me and, try to jump me. Dudes who I grew up with, they rolled with me. They know the deal. They know it was a whole different world from graffiti. So I could have got killed just trying to sell drugs in the neighborhood because another drug dealer didn't want me in the neighborhood. So I had a lot of trouble with big dudes, and I got tired of it to a point where I saw a few of my friends, were getting locked up, and I seen how, everything was just coming down, and I just left it alone. I said, nah, this is too much. You know, I had 2 kids young. You know, I didn't want to be, some of my friends were getting locked up for years. And they, you know, their kids are, you know, no dad for a couple of years. I didn't want that for my kids. So I just stopped fucking around. And I said, fuck it. If I got to work 2 jobs and bust my ass, that's fine. At least I'm free, you know, because, you know, I've done a little time in jail here, a month there, 2 months here, whatever, a week here. And it's the worst. You know, it's the worst. I mean, you know, people think being in jail is cool to glorify it, but it's not. You know, it's like your whole freedom, your whole world stops. You know, and it's like a whole different world in there. You know, it's dangerous. You know, it's nothing better than just being free. You know, being home in your family. And that's what stops me nowadays from, you know, fighting and getting into crazy stuff with people. Because, you know, you get a lot of haters. You know, when you become big in art, you know, dudes that I know for years, they just start hating and start attacking you and just come at you because they're just so jealous that they don't have what you have. You know, they'll go on social media, start creating lies and rules. It just gets to you to a point where you want to come out like back in the days type shit, you know, on some really ghetto maniac shit. But for what? You know, if you do and you hurt someone, you go to jail for the rest of your life. You lose it all. So it's not even worth it.
Yeah.
You know, you have to look at it like it's their problem. You know, let them. I'm not going to jail for some idiot who's jealous of me and is calling me all these names. It just doesn't make sense. You know, I got the family to feed and take care of, and I've been in jail, and it's not a good place. You know, it's not. I'd rather be home and relaxing and doing what I got to do and live life and, you know, focus on my art and my paintings and live life to the fullest because it goes fast, you know, and travel the world. You know, that was another thing. You know, graffiti has taken me worldwide. You know, that's a blessing. I would never, ever think in a million years, you know, being a little dirty Puerto Rican kid from the Bronx, hanging out in abandoned buildings, you know, cutting screw and smoking weed and drinking beer with a bunch of kids and crazy stuff and painting trains, that I would travel the whole world, you know, and that's a God blessing to travel the world off your art.
Yeah.
You know, I've been everywhere from, you know, Russia, Japan, Germany, France, you know, it's just phenomenal. Morocco, you know, you look at that like, wow, this is really like, I was supposed to be in China now, in Hong Kong with a solo exhibition, but I can't. So they're doing a exhibition with me and 2 other artists, which is cool for in March. But I'm looking at a solo exhibition in Tokyo with JPS Gallery in March. I mean, late in the summertime or fall. So, you know, it'll come after this COVID thing. Everything that was supposed to happen last year is going to happen slowly. It'll come. But the main thing is that everyone is safe and healthy and this thing goes away because, you know, it's destroying and killing the world. Like so many people just lost everything.
Yeah.
And it's sad.
Yeah.
You know, their jobs, there's some people that just got no money, nothing.
Frustrating. Very frustrating times. So, Cope, where can people find you on social media to monitor and to track what you're doing?
Well, I got a new account. It's at Mr. Cope 2 because my other account, you know, I was working on 200,000 followers, you know, and it got hacked, you know, out of nowhere. It's still up. So I'm working on getting it now. You know, I hired a company to contact Facebook because Facebook, I don't know, these guys, they take forever to contact you and it's a mess, you know, and I'm working on getting it's called Cope2_art_life. That's my other account, my original account.
Yeah.
And I'm working on getting that back. So hopefully I should have it up running in a week or 2. You know, I'm waiting on them. They're contacting, I guess, Facebook's legal team and trying to get that back.
How did you know? How did you know it was hacked? Was someone posting like artificial stuff?
Well, yeah, it's crazy. They tricked me. I got tricked, and it's funny. I wasn't going to go for it, but I got a DM from. It looks so real because it says it sends you a thing like they actually Instagram, and it says if you don't respond to this within 24 hours, your account's going to get deleted if you don't respond to this. It was something that had to do with the badge, the blue badge,
the tick, the verification,
the verification. So I was like, I'm not going for it. I don't trust it. But then it looks so real. I'm like, wait a minute. So it kind of throws you off because you're like, what if it is Instagram and they do delete my Instagram? I got to fucking open a new one. So I just said, let me try. Maybe it's nothing. I tried it. Boom. I pressed it. Boom. Man, I don't know how they do it, man. They get your email. They change your email. They change your password. They change everything. It's insane. I couldn't get in.
Oh.
I couldn't get in. I tried every link, everything, and I just couldn't get in. Finally, when I got a hold of Facebook, they said that the account is not existing anymore. I don't think they can, but I'm sure they have ways of doing it. Because when you contact them, you get these automatic emails. It's not like someone you're actually talking to. That's the annoying thing. You get just like the way they have it set up, it's crazy. So you're really just talking to probably an automatic computer, just sends you to do what you got to do. And you can't, if to talk to actually somebody, it's impossible. Because I think there's thousands of people that have hacked accounts and problems on Instagram.
Yeah.
There's thousands of people out there. They can't get to everybody. So I just hired someone to contact their legal team, and hopefully I get it back, and then I'll have two accounts. But if I get my original account, I'll delete this one. But for now, it's Mr. Cope too.
Yeah. I mean, like the other account that you got, which is hacked, I mean, it's massive audience. So I was thinking to myself when you told me about
mobbed on.
Yeah, I mean, that must be a very good revenue source for you, because a lot of people now use social media, including Instagram, as a way of generating money, and you must get DMs all the time for your work.
Oh, the DMs are ridiculous. I can't even catch up. It's just unreal. It's ridiculous, but it's cool, man. You see a lot of fans, a lot of love, man. It's so many people, really, really from all over the world. They really, really look up to you. It's really a beautiful thing. I got kids from all over the world, from countries, little towns. They know who I am. It's like phenomenal to see that. They literally doing my name on walls, on paper. It's really cool, man. And that's the cool thing about it. That in 10, 20 years from now, these people will be probably huge adults, hopefully good jobs. You never know. They'll be buying an actual piece from you, and that's the whole thing about it. It's like when I'm dead and gone, these little kids who look up to me now, I got kids from like probably 10, 15 years ago. They're older now. They got good jobs. Oh, man, I used to look up to you when I was this, and I don't write graffiti no more, but I work here, and I'd like to buy a piece. And I'm like, oh, shit. And this guy's been watching me for like 20 years, when he was young. And now the guy's an adult, and he's got a good job. He has family, kids, and he wants to buy a coke thrower to put in his fucking room. That's crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. And once that happens, you made it in life. And I'm very thankful for God to bless me with this, because, I'm very a strong believer in God. He's the creator of this world. And, I'm not into religions at all, but, I have, a faith in God that you do the right thing in life, and he will bless you,
Yeah.
And, man, I tell you, man, it's just insane. I really trip out of it. Sometimes I gotta wow, this is it's really overwhelming.
Like you said, it's a beautiful thing, and now that we're in an era or an age where social media is literally connecting people all around the world, it can be a bit of a curse. Sometimes it can be a distraction.
Yeah, it does.
And there could be the mental health side of things, but at the same time, it's great for business. It's great to connect people and feel the positivity from people from across the world. Cope, I wanted to ask you one more thing. I have a saying, okay? And the saying goes like this: be happy, never content. If I was to ask you, Cope, what be happy, never content means to you, if you can give me your interpretation of it.
Wow. Be happy, man. I mean, I guess to me in life, man, just do what makes you happy. Period. You know, life ain't perfect. You know, everyone is not perfect. We have our ups and downs, and you know, there's always going to be bad and good. But you know, even in the bad times, you got to be happy. You know, regardless, because it'll pass. You know, it'll pass, and do what's best for you, and just always respect everyone, and try to stay positive no matter what. You know, I learned the hard way. You know, people get at me off you know, off my rocker sometimes. But as you get older, you know, I got grandkids now. I'm like, I got time to argue and fight with anyone. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't make any. It just kills you. You know, and it just try to be positive. You know, and stay happy and do what makes you happy.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear that, bro. All right. Well, look, this podcast comes out a week today, so I'll for sure send you over the videos once it's done. And let's keep the communication open, Cope, because there's definitely room for us to do some collaboration, some business together.
Ready, man. I love London. Let's get out there. Hopefully, I get to do that collaboration with Banksy too.
Yeah, that'd be phenomenal. All right, nice one, mate.
I met him before. He was really cool.
Yeah, is his name Robin?
Yeah.
By any chance?
I'm not sure, but I know how he looks. I mean, I've seen one picture of him online, but yeah, it was in 1995. I flew over there with PJ, and we went to see a show that Scene had when I think D-Fade Dees had a gallery at the time in 95, and I went over to London with PJ, and then Scene was like, yo, we're going to hang out tonight with my boy, Banksy. I was like, Banksy? Who the fuck is Banksy? You know, I didn't know I was into street art. You know, I was graffiti, you know, graffiti purist. I wasn't even doing canvases yet. This is 1995, and he's like, yeah, we're going to meet at a pub tonight, and, you know, we're going to drink some beers. I'm like, all right, whatever. So I went over there with PJ and Pulse, this other guy, Pulse from London. He writes Pulse. He's like a legendary graffiti writer. And, yeah, we met Banksy, and, you know, I didn't think none of it. I didn't really know who he was. I wasn't into him yet. But I remember he brought a box of Cohiba cigars, and he gave us some cigars, and we were smoking, and he bought us beers, and you know, he really, really was cool. He was really talking about how he looks up to me and Scene and all the New York writers, and you know, I was like, oh, cool. I thought it was just a regular dude in London that just liked graffiti. I had no idea who was Banksy at the time. So then he wanted us to go to his studio. He wanted to do a collaboration with me. You know, he said, would you come to my studio and do a coke bubble on a canvas, and I would do something on top of it. So I was like, oh, all right. I mean, if that's what you want. And Scene was like, yeah, let's go, pal. Let's all go. But, you know, at the time, this guy Pulse didn't like him. You know, he said he didn't like Banksy, and I was with Pulse, and he didn't want to go. So Scene went with Banksy to his studio, and me and PJ and Pulse left. And I didn't think none of it, you know. When I went back home and, you know, you talk to some of your friends and they're like, yo, how was London? And I said, yeah, I did this, I did that. I met some street artist named Banksy. And the minute I said Banksy, they'd like go crazy. You know, they was like, what? You met Banksy? Get the fuck out of here. And I was like, what the fuck's the big deal? Like, he's just a cool dude. Then I went on the internet and I looked into him and I said, oh, no wonder. And I knew it was like weird because I wanted to take a picture with him, but he wouldn't take a picture, you know? And he says, no, I don't take pictures, man. No disrespect. And then Scene was like, yeah, he just doesn't take pictures. I said, all right, cool. So he took a picture of me, Scene, and PJ, which I have the shot. I'm going to post it on Instagram with the cigars. He took that picture, but he wouldn't take a picture with me. But I didn't stress it. I was just like, all right, cool. I respect it. But then when I got home and I finally found out who the fuck he really was, then I said, holy shit, this dude's huge. And I followed them ever since. And then I seen a collaboration he did with Scene online like a few months later. I think Scene did like a S with some arrows, and I think he did like 2 stencils of some London police on it. So it's like a one-of-a-kind canvas.
Wow.
You know, and yeah, if you look it up, Scene and Banksy, you'll see the canvas. And that was the night. And I was like, damn, imagine I would have had this one canvas with Banksy. That would have been cool, you know, just one.
Fuck it up.
But hopefully someday I get to do something with the guy. He's a genius too.
Yeah.
He was the genuine guy. He was a genius. Whatever he does, he's amazing.
Incredible stuff, man. Well, look, no doubt, things will happen, and I know your persistence, your work rate, you know, your vision, and more importantly, your style is definitely going to create that opportunity, and hopefully we could be instrumental in that, Cope. Well, look, peace and love, mate. Be safe, be well, and thank you so much for your time. Really respect it.
Thank you.
Big up, mate. Cheers, then. Bye. Bye.